England has the big Fabergé egg looking one. That big glass building.
Hello, my name is Gareth. You're watching the Hub Online Network. Today we're talking COVID, cops, and Twitter. Let's get to it. All right, so I hope everybody had a good weekend. Mine was fairly lighthearted. I'm sitting here, though, with Matthias, who's running the switcherboard. And I believe we have Jessica on the chats when she's out of the hallway and back at her computer. We have a fully running studio again. This is awesome. We just had we had a meeting with for the Hub about how we're going to be doing things moving forward. Kind of like a staff meeting. We went over our fire escape plan and all that kind of stuff. So sorry we're a little bit late starting off today, but I have everything broken down into different categories this time around. So I feel like I'm a little bit more organized. So let's start in Ashcroft. So the Ashcroft Auxiliary Thrift Store says, hello everyone. We have some great news to share with you. This is kind of a long post, but please read all of it so we can all understand the new guidelines to our thrift store to be open. We'll be opening on Wednesday, June 10th. Our new hours will be Wednesdays only from 10 to 3 as COVID-19 precautions change. So will we. We will update this page and as and when needed. And we'll be able to start taking your awesome donations again on Monday, June 7th. So that's today. Please bag or box all of your donations, and we'll be moving donations from the drop box to a shipping container to be stored for a minimum of 96 hours before taking them into the store to be processed. It is very important for the health and safety of our amazing volunteers that all donations are in bags or boxes. If the drop box is full, please consider taking your donations home and bring them in on another day. Please do not just leave your donations outside the drop box. So that is from the Auxiliary Thrift Store in Ashcroft. And if you're just joining us, our big talk today is going to be about the talk about defunding police and RCMP in both the United States and Canada. So if you would like to have your say on that, please give me a call at 778-694-4662, I believe is the phone number. But Matthias is going to throw up my name card and the phone number for you to call right now, and I'll take your call, or you can message in on the chat, and Matthias will read your chats out as we go. Just to continue on with the auxiliary thrift, we will be able to start taking, nope, I'm already done that. So due to Canada Consumer Product Safety Act changes, we are no longer selling or accepting children's toys. Please make alternate arrangements for all toys. So again, that's from the auxiliary thrift. They're no longer taking toys, but they'll take all of the rest of your stuff, although I don't think that they take furniture either. But clothes, dishes, all those kinds of good donations is what they run on, so please bring those down to the auxiliary thrift. I know that the second time around is going to be open starting Fridays, so it's going to be Wednesdays for auxiliary thrift, Fridays for second time around, so check out those two well-worthy charitable organizations, and let us know what you think about taking hand-me-downs, or not hand-me-downs, but going to those types of places during COVID. Is that something that you're interested in doing and participating in? Are you more wary of used items? Please let us know at hon@ashcrofthub.com or give me a call. From Desert Stands Community School, there is a mailbox at Safety Mart for anyone in the community who wants to send a grad well wishes. If any community members want to send a message to a grad, we will make sure it goes to the right person. And of course, it is grad week. Matthias, why don't you tell us a little bit about, since you're a graduate this year, tell us a little bit what's going on for the grads this coming Friday.
So we're going to be doing a parade at 6 o'clock. I couldn't tell you the route right off the top of my head. I believe that we're starting in Cache Creek. We are going to finish in Ashcroft, and by 9 o'clock we will be watching a video that is being prepared by us here at the Hon to commemorate the graduates of 2020.
How long do you think this video is going to be once it's all said and done and we have it ready to go?
I think that the video is probably going to be somewhere in between 45 minutes and an hour, somewhere in there.
And what are your thoughts on graduating itself? Are you excited to graduate and see what's going to come down the horizon, or are you sad that you're graduating? What's the deal?
Well, I mean, I'm sad that I'm graduating without having spoken to teachers for a very long time. I consider the staff here at the school in Ashcroft to be my friends, and it's very sad to not have these last 3 months with them. But I'm excited that I can experience something with my grad class. I know for a very long time we were all worried that nothing was going to happen. But I mean, thank you guys here at the Hub for pitching in to help volunteer and making this video. Our graduation wouldn't have been the same without that, for sure.
Having spoken with the teachers this week, because you went in and filmed with them, what do you feel as their thoughts on you guys graduating?
So they're sad to see us go, of course, and a lot of them. So I was the one with the camera, and I was setting up a lot of the interviews with my coworker Troy, who was over there, and right away there was a lot of discomfort. The teachers are so used to doing it in one certain way. They get to see their graduates who they've been with for 4 years. They get to tell them in person how special they are, how they're going to do great. But they were kind of taken aback by the fact that they were doing it into a camera. And for a lot of the interviews, the first thing that came out of their mouth was, "This is so weird." And I think that's kind of the general sentiment with everyone. It's just, this is so weird. This whole experience has just been so bizarre and otherworldly.
Well, I'm looking forward to seeing this video once we have it done, because we're still in the process of editing. It's mainly falling on Matthias though, which is great because it's a good experience for him. And what are you doing once you're done? Once you're graduated, what are you doing in the fall?
Hopefully, if everything goes out well, I will be going to Capilano. I've been accepted. I'm going to their film program. I'm going to get a Bachelor of Film to hopefully go and work in the movie industry in Vancouver. Maybe make some cool movies one day. That's kind of my goal.
Awesome.
But, things are weird right now. My first semester is probably going to be online. The housing, no one knows what's happening with it. So pretty much I think everything right now in the whole world is a kerfuffle. You know, everything's kerfuffled up. What's
the program that you're not going for acting or anything? What class are you going for?
So I'm going for a Bachelor of Film. It's the Bachelor of Motion Picture Arts is what it's called. Capilano.
Do you know what kind of things you're going to be learning?
So the kind of things, it covers a general scope. I personally want to focus on the creative aspect of filmmaking. I'm very interested in camera work and super interested in directing. Directing is something that I've always wanted to do. So it really depends on what you're interested in. Since it's a university course, you can kind of pick and choose your classes. All of them will result in you getting a Bachelor of Film, but exactly what you choose to specialize in is completely up to you and what classes you choose. So I think camera work and directing classes are probably going to be what I focus on.
Awesome. Yeah. Okay. So from the Ashcroft Village is on Twitter. So last week they had made up their first online account, really, where they can put out information when there's a change in a day that the garbage is going to be picked up. Or the first thing that they actually shared was Ashcroft is on stage 1 water restrictions. But now they've made the leap also to Twitter. So if you are a person that is on Facebook and Twitter, you can follow the Village of Ashcroft on both of those platforms. I think that they're mainly going to be sharing the same information on both, but make sure that you check those out if you live in the Ashcroft area for any updates from the Village when it comes to municipal regulations and or schedules. The Ashcroft Bakery is reopening on June 11th. So the poster says Thursday, Friday, and Saturday without hours for the rest of the week. But the poster goes on to say we are ready to reopen. There will be changes. Hours will be different until things get reestablished. Menu will be a bit different. So please be patient and understanding. We will serve you the best that we can. So that is from the Ashcroft Bakery. Please share on June 12th. The Desert Sands Community School 2020 grads will be lining up in their formals on Quartz Road in Cache Creek at 5:30 before starting their parade at 6. Then lining up again on Elm Street in front of Pool Park at 6:30 before starting their parade in Ashcroft at 7. Please drive by to show your support to the grads. We ask that you do not get out of your vehicles, and we wish to maintain social distancing. So that is from Desert Sands Community School. Matthias already took a brief shot at talking about that. So it's a reverse parade where the people drive past the grads instead of the grads driving past the people. So keep that in mind, and that is this coming Friday. And just to clarify, you can drive by grads, then they will be getting into cars and driving the route on the maps. So come out and honk at the grads, then cheer them as they drive. Oh, it's a twofer parade.
It is a twofer parade.
Interesting.
You get both ways.
So who drives you though? Is there enough students to drive the kids around, or are their parents doing it?
You get one family per vehicle. That's how it's working. Preferably, don't fill up the vehicle with like 7 people.
Okay.
So for most people, it's just you get one car. So it's probably going to be like a grad. And then if you have a brother or a sister who's also like, if you have 2 grads in the same family, they'll be in there. And then probably probably both the parents. Just driving them around. That's probably what that's going to look like.
Are there any current families that have 2 grads this year?
I don't think so. No, I don't believe that there are. So I don't think the space is going to be too much of an issue. So that's good.
See, now we can talk about this on this show because it's a civic institution and I have to cover civic
Nice.
things. Unity is opening tomorrow at 11:30 a.m. Lots of great stuff to announce. New patio, outdoor shows, expanded hours, new menu items including dinners, and our new online takeout order site coming soon. Of course, please be aware of our reduced tables and distancing/sanitizing protocols that are in place. Onward and upward, it's summertime, says Unity. So talking about how Ashcroft is on Twitter, Jackie Taggart and Brad Viss are also on Twitter, Jackie being our local MLA and Brad Viss being our MP for the area. And they say, so this is from Jackie Taggart, who retweets the BC Liberal Caucus by saying, not only is it almost World Oceans Day, but it is also BC Seafood Month. Consider supporting a local restaurant this weekend who are giving back to at Van Aqua as they continue to their world-leading world in conservation conservation, research, and education programs. So I think that mainly affects Vancouver more, but thank you, Jackie, for being up on all of the current hashtags that are out there. And Brad Viss retweets, if it's safe for the Prime Minister to attend a gathering of thousands shoulder to shoulder while masked, surely it is safe for a few hundred MPs to work in the House of Commons shoulder to shoulder while wearing a mask. This tweet was retweeted from Scott Reid, another member of the Conservative Party of Canada. Now, from Cache Creek, water levels in the Bonaparte River continue to recede, but they still remain high for this time of year. The village is no longer on a state of emergency, but the properties along the river remain on evacuation alert because of the high water level. Stay a minimum of 10 feet away from the riverbanks because of the lengthy state of flooding. The banks are saturated and undercut in many places. Our weight could cause the banks to fall away into the river. Stay back and stay safe. I hope they weren't talking about me when they were talking about weight wrecking the river, or the riverbanks, but I shouldn't make everything about myself. The village continues to monitor the water levels, bank erosion, and debris in the river. Reminder, the community park is closed due to the high water. Please stay out. Walking or playing in the water damages both the grass and irrigation systems. Remember to maintain COVID-19 physical distancing protocols. Keep your distance and wash your hands. Also, both Ashcroft and Cache Creek have their council meetings tonight, which I will be attending. So if you have questions that you wanted to ask either of the villages, please send it in to me at HON. Can you throw up the email address, Matthias? HON@ashcrofthub.com. I have some questions from a couple of people already that have been sending them in regularly. But if you have something, get it in to me so I can ask your questions to the councillors. Now, in Kamloops, Kamloops Pride says the annual Pride Parade will not take place this summer. The 2020 event would have been the organization's 4th annual, but will be canceled thanks to the COVID-19 pandemic and physical distancing guidelines surrounding public events. In a social media post, Kamloops Pride says this year also marks the 50th anniversary of the first Pride Parade in New York City. And despite the parade cancellation, the organization says various online celebrations will be planned for Pride Week and will be rolled out on the weekend of August 14th to 16th. So stay tuned for that if that is something that you are interested in checking out. So now looking at the province on a larger scale, BC Liberal MLA Donna Barnett and John Rustad are again calling on John Horgan and the NDP to shut down plans to open up the hunt for moose calves and their mothers over a leaked memo that confirms the government's intention to proceed in the name of saving endangered caribou. There is no, so this is now in quotes, there is no conclusive evidence that eliminating moose population will starve the predatory wolves and eliminate their potential impact on endangered caribou herds, said Caribou Chilcotin MLA and Rural Caucus Chair Donna Barnett. Local Conservatives officials just partnered with the Williams Lake Indian Band to help preserve moose populations, and now the NDP has implicitly come up with the contradictory plan. The BC Liberals recently obtained a provincial government memo in which a communication official with the ministry states that it is a worthwhile trade-off to remove a few moose. The memo concluded that these thoughtful management options are meant to halt the long decline of caribou population and to put them on the path to recovery. Now, so that's taking a look at what's a thing that's happening in our province. Now, looking at the country, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau says that the ban on non-essential crossings of the U.S.-Canada border is being loosened slightly to allow some families to reunite. Rules still require anyone entering the country to self-isolate for 2 weeks to reduce the risk of spreading COVID-19. The border with the United States has been closed since March, except for goods with certain categories of essential workers. Canadians have always had the right to return to this country from abroad, but some families have been divided because some of their members' citizenship status. There is a recall on hand sanitizers. So this is from the Government of Canada website. So the product is certain hand sanitizers made with industrial grade ethanol. The issue is Health Canada is advising Canadians that certain hand sanitizers are being recalled from the market because they contain industrial grade ethanol that has not been authorized for use in hand sanitizers in Canada. What to do is stop using these products. Consult with your healthcare professionals if you have used any of these products and have health concerns. Report any health product adverse effect events or complaints to Health Canada. See the additional information on buying health products safely in the links below. And there's also some COVID lawsuits going on. So there are lawsuits involving seniors' homes, airlines, universities, and ticket providers affected by COVID-19. Could tie up Canadian courts for years, says a litigation lawyer. Michael Smith, a partner at the Bennett Jones law firm in Toronto, says that it has been tracking all proposed class action claims related to the pandemic. From the end of March to June 1st, the firm recorded 19 such lawsuits across Canada, including 8 against long-term care facilities. Just for some examples, the airlines, if you had a trip planned and the airline, instead of giving you back your money, they've given you points. And in some of these instances, the points have to be used within 2 years, which may or may not be possible due to COVID. So a lot of people are suing the airlines just to get their money back for the trip that they had planned. For tickets and stuff like that, events have been canceled, tickets have already been sold, but the event providers are not just giving a blanket, here's your money back. They're holding on to it, saying that we'll give you another ticket for a future event. And people are just not happy with the way that that's happening. So if that's you and you have a story like that, please let us know. It'd be interesting to hear what your thoughts are about those types of issues. And again, you can email us at hon@ashcrofthub.com. Now, before we get into the big go around here, that's all of that. Okay, so, and I apologize, this is a little bit of a longer thing, but there's some really good points in here. And so this is talking specifically about the current situation with Black Lives Matter, the protests going on in the States and in Canada. In Minneapolis specifically right now, they are talking about defunding the police in that state, which sounds like it's a thing that a lot of different states are talking about. And anything that happens with our neighbors to the south typically tends to bleed its way into Canada. So before I read this, if you have anything that you would like, again, if you have anything you'd like to say about this particular issue, because it has been a hot button topic, please give me a call. I'll be reading this probably for the next 5 to 7 minutes. This is a fairly lengthy thing, and I will read all of it. So please let me know. And even in the future, we go live again Friday at 3, so we can talk about this then as well. But asking the question, what are alternatives to policing? Is to ask the question, what are alternatives to capitalism, says Luis Fernandez, professor of criminology and criminal justice at Northern Arizona University, in a phone interview with The Daily. So this is an article from The Daily. By definition, policing is the regulation and control of community. The role of the police is to maintain the capitalist social order, Fernandez says. A lot of the time, the role of the police is to maintain the social order so that those particular people who have power can do their business with the least amount of disruption possible. Part of maintaining the current social order means that the police force does not treat everyone on a level playing field. Capitalism develops very specific kinds of social arrangements that for the most part require a very strong stratification of people. You need police to maintain that particular kind of order. The actions of the police are not equally distributed. It's not equal opportunity policing, Fernandez says. This leads to higher rates of police brutality and incarceration in less privileged populations. Activities such as watching, recording, and noting police activities promoted by activist networks such as CopWatch can occasionally work to counteract the the aggressive acts of the police by changing the power dynamic in favor of the people who may otherwise be harmed by the police. Cop watch has a certain kind of Phocidian power, where the police officers, if they think they're going to be watched, they are much less likely to abuse people, Fernandez says. Imagining a world without police, however, is daunting. Without police, who would respond to emergencies? Who would we call when we see a crime being committed? Despite this, Fernandez does see a society without police not to be too far off. Most of our communities already exist without policing. Most of our human interactions are already outside of the purview of police officers, he said. Most of the social relationships between people do not require police intervention, he added. While a complete abolition of the police system would require a change in social order, some alternatives to that current police system set out to empower people to keep their communities safe while encouraging everyone to live that are free of violence and oppression. A society with little or no policing requires strong community organizations to mediate and react to a conflict when it does occur. Now there is more, but I want to ask Matthias, have you heard about the possibility of defunding police in the States?
I have. I heard about it yesterday, just while I was scrolling through social media. And I wasn't actually very educated on the topic, but until now, when you were reading about it, and it's an extremely intriguing, idea. In theory, I very much like the idea of defunding police departments and thinking of new ways to do things. But at the same time, it's kind of like the same argument with going green. So this industry has been so strong for so long, and there are so many families that find their livelihoods within this industry. And it's just how can you find a clean way to help transition these people and families who make their livelihood off of this industry and into this new world that you want to usher in. And it's just such a daunting task. But I feel like if everyone comes together and is on the same page and understands what the purpose of defunding the police department is, it can go very smoothly, and I think everyone can be left happy at the end of it.
So there is a thing called restorative justice. So restorative justice, as an example of an alternative to police, has a long history in Canada, particularly within the Indigenous communities. It traditionally lessens the state's role in dealing with the crime and focuses on methods like mediation, dialogue, and reconciliation instead of punishment. Funded on the principle that traditional apparatuses of the criminal justice system typically do not take into account the needs of victims, restorative justice works to include victims in the process. It functions with the voluntary participation of victims, offenders, and community members. Victims typically address how the crime has impacted their lives, and offenders are encouraged to take responsibility. The collective body of citizens has the ability in a deliberative consensus model to determine with the offender whether the offender goes to jail or not. Fernandez explained that this becomes an alternative to law enforcement and policing because you have the power with the people collectively, he added. There are several essential tenets unique to restorative justice. Recognition that crime is a violation of one person by another rather than an act against the state, and that this is harmful to both personal relationships and to the communities. The process takes the holistic context of an offense into consideration, including moral, social, economic, political, and religious considerations. Restorative justice has been recognized by the Supreme Court of Canada and is mentioned within the Criminal Code in paragraph 718.2e. It is often used to try to lessen the large number of Indigenous peoples within the criminal justice and prison systems. Indigenous people take up approximately 2% of Canada's adult population, but made up between 17 and 18.5% of federal prison admissions in 2006. Peacemaking circles, a form of restorative justice seen in some Indigenous communities, focus on non-hierarchical dialogue between community, victim, and offender. These circles focus on looking at larger structural issues of crime and prevention within the community, as opposed to focusing on crime on an individual basis. dissatisfied with Canada's current punitive criminal justice and penal system and concerned that it unfairly targets Indigenous people, the Kahnawake Mohawk community, located on the south shore of the St. Lawrence River, began to use Skinyan, and Sonton, which means to become peaceful again, the traditional restorative justice system reintroduced by the Mohawk in Kahnawake in 2000. These practices provide alternative measures to the federal crime justice system and focus largely on preventative measures and interventions. That's very interesting. A lot of the things that I've heard is more social workers, less police, but this sounds like a completely different way of looking at it, which is, it really opens up dialogue opposed to putting people in handcuffs and having other people decide the fate. Other restorative justice models include victim offender mediation programs, or VOMPSs, which originated in Ontario and focus on problem solving between victim and offender with the help of a trained mediator. Unfortunately, despite its success, the program was terminated in 2004 due to lack of funding. Historically, restorative justice has been used for addressing minor crimes. However, some, such as Howard Zier, a professor of restorative justice at the Eastern Mennonite University, argue that it can be effective in cases of more serious crimes such as sexual assault or murder. The evidence for this varies and often depends on multiple variables, such as mediator training on the voluntary participation of all parties involved. And now we're in the last couple of paragraphs, but what do you think about that? Having sort of larger circles of people that have a dialogue opposed to pointing fingers and sending people to jail.
So I really like the idea, and I think that it could work well, but you also have to understand that there are toxic communities out there, and sometimes people won't make the right choices unless they have a guideline. And the big thing with the police and the current justice system is that they have a guideline. So this is good, this is bad. It's not up to them to decide. Because sometimes, of course, people are going to make terrible, bad decisions that aren't correct. And so that's kind of my big concern, is that if we leave too much justice to communities, sometimes it's going to feel like frontier justice. Or some decisions will be made where in other communities, it's completely outrageous, but in this community, oh, this is fine, right? So I don't know, a lot of different things that could go wrong with this system, but still a very exciting proposition.
So moving into the last section of this particular article, is called Preventative Measures. So one key shortcoming of the police force is that it reacts to crime more often than it actively prevents crime. Communities that feel underserved by the police have thus had to come up with alternative methods in order to keep safe without police help. However, many of these methods seem to exacerbate the dichotomy between criminal and victim. Anti-crime design in one such method, groups like Crime Prevention through Environment Design, or OPTED, Ontario advocate for the creation of public spaces that actively prevent crime. For instance, CPTED suggests high visibility in public spaces, basically more windows to decrease secret spaces where crime may occur. With more observers would be criminals maybe less likely to commit crimes. A crime prevention design technique called natural access control also suggests building fences to clearly delineate public and private spaces, or designing spaces so people know precisely where they are allowed and not allowed to go, instead of constant police patrols or merely reactionary police work. This design-oriented approach physically prevents crime through space. Community-based sexual assault centers have also emerged in the past decades as a valuable alternative to police. Locally, centers like these are crazy acronyms, SACOMSS, or the Montreal Sexual Assault Center, give non-police aid to survivors of sexual assault. This includes helping survivors immediately after incidents, as well as providing crucial long-term support and advocacy for them. Community centers are also more likely to keep the survivor identities a secret as they work with total anonymity. These solutions give survivors more support than traditional police work, which does not typically provide support for the survivor past legal action. And the last paragraph, an organization like Walk Safe McGill is a small-scale version of what many neighborhoods and communities have implemented. The Réseau Québécois des Villes et Villages de Santé, the Health Communities Network, is one program that asks community members to define what they want their community to be and allow them to come up with the ways to prevent crime from occurring in the area. Other programs around Quebec include neighborhood watch programs and encourage communities to police themselves and prevent crime through vigilance and community education. So, if we defund the police and get rid of the police, let's just say that we go to the far extreme and we get rid of the police, do you think that opens up the road to people like Batman?
I think I could be Batman.
So that's pretty much it. So there's multiple different ways that defunding police can go. So between now and Friday, when we are live again, let us know what your thoughts are. Should we defund police? Should we get rid of police altogether? Do you think that getting rid of police altogether is going too far? What are some other options that weren't in this article? And again, you can email us at hon@ashcrofthub.com. But until that day, do we have any people chatting with us? No? Well, in that case, thank you everyone for watching. And that's pretty much all we got for now. We'll be back on Friday with our report on Ashcroft and Cache Creek councils. So for the next few days, stay safe, physical distance, and if you got to protest, wear a mask.
You can be Robin, by the way.
I am a boy wonder. Would I be a man wonder now?